Hey guys, it's Jake. Just wanted to let you know that some references might be dated in this episode because it was recorded back in November and I only got around to editing it this week. So there are some references that are dated or incorrect now, but I wanted to make this clear before we started the episode just so nobody ats me. While I'm here, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and follow. Rate 5 stars. It really does a lot for us, and we really appreciate all of you listening. And remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for all the case photos and as well as updates. Anyway, back to the show. Welcome to Dark Docent. My name is Jake. Join me as I guide my friend James down the paranormal rabbit hole, attempting to prove the authenticity of a new case each week. Today's case, the Cadborosaurus. How are we doing today, James?
I think today is going to be a train wreck. But I'm doing pretty good.
Can you tell me why?
Just in kind of a silly mood, you know?
I understand. You know what? That's okay. Sometimes we can use a silly mood.
It's not every day you get to record at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
This is true. It's a whole new experience for us. But I'm surprised that you said train wreck and not shipwreck. 50 years ago yesterday, James, we lost the Edmund Fitzgerald brother.
We did. It was tragic. They made a song about it.
But there was a trade. We got Travis Walton back from the aliens.
We did. Do you think that trade was worth it?
Still up for debate.
Did they make a song about Travis?
That's actually a really good question. I don't know if they have or not. But someone should start. Remember the Travis episode? We did talk about covering Gordon Lightfoot, but as a story about Travis.
Yeah, you did a great 3-second snippet of what the song could have been.
Maybe we can work on that.
Maybe we could.
The difficult part is that it's like an 8-minute song.
Most of it's probably not vocalized though.
Actually, yeah, lots of it is. It's a huge story. It's really weird. But anyway, not important.
You think the CIA sunk it?
No, but it might be tied to a different paranormal thing that we might get into later.
Later today or later?
Later. Today, we have a different story. And it's one that's kind of local.
Another kind of local one.
I got a story for you. It is 1991. We are in a little town on Vancouver Island called Sydney. Terry Osland is walking her dog by Ardmore Point. As she's walking down a trail towards the beach, her dog stops moving for a moment and begins to whine and pull back on the leash. It's refusing to go down towards where they're going. Now, this is strange. She's never really seen her dog act like this before. So she's trying to try to pull her dog, asking her what's wrong. And when she looks back towards the cliff of where she was going to go down to the beach, she sees a massive head, horse-like, with snake-like eyes, connected to a serpentine body. As she looked at it, it then dipped its head down towards the water. Now, she ran to the edge of the cliff. She wanted to see what this thing was. And when she looked down, she saw a massive serpentine beast, estimated at 40 feet long. It looked at her, then turned around and began swimming back into the water. As it turned around, she noticed that the tail had 2 rear flippers and a large fluke. As it went into the water, it dove down beneath the waves, came up one more time, and then sunk back into the depths. She said that the skin was like that of a dogfish, and it seemed to be a grayish color. Now, this sounds extremely outlandish, but this is not the first time that this creature has been seen in these waters. Sightings of this creature go back hundreds of years, and thousands of years in native folklore. James, have you heard of our local sea monster, the Cadborosaurus.
I think you've mentioned it a couple times, like when we were talking about the Loch Ness Monster or the Ogopogo.
Yes. And what do you think about Cadborosaurus? You ever heard about it before other than me talking about it?
Well, the way you've talked about it is like a matter of fact, this is the thing that existed once upon a time, as in like a dinosaur that we may have had fossils of.
That's how I talked about the Ogopogo. Yeah, I definitely think that it was something. But this one's a bit different. It's very similar to descriptions of the Ogopogo. Serpentine, horse-like head, fluke at the end of the tail. Except it's not confined by fresh water.
Right.
It's a saltwater creature.
Yeah. Seen possibly around Cadboro Bay.
It is seen in Cadboro Bay, but that is only the most common place it's been seen. Reports of Cadborosaurus go as far north as Alaska and as far south as California.
A real big seahorse, hey?
Kind of a really big seahorse. There's actually some pictures and descriptions where they take it way too literally and literally give it a big head like a seahorse, and it looks ridiculous. But we do have a lot of witness drawings. And I actually have one for you from Terry Osland's encounter that I told you about.
Starting off strong, let's do it.
Let's do it. Here's a sketch of Terry Osland's encounter. And one thing I want to add that's really important about these sketches is they have size and like diagrams of how tall different things were and distance, stuff like that. Here you go.
It is a sketch of a couple different things. One's like a further away sketch that shows it's like 15 feet cliffside, the whole long neck sticking up looking over it, with where Terry was standing. And then there's a sketch of the like a head-on looking at the head of it, and then of the rear of it, probably as it swam away or something. I can't really describe the sketches too well. Kind of silly looking head on it with like a big Rudolph nose.
Yeah, that's pretty common in Cadborosaurus sightings.
Mhm.
The head is supposedly looks like a horse or camel.
Right. And then the rear is kind of like what you'd imagine the rear of a Loch Ness Monster to look like, with flippers.
I think she misinterpreted that because the common thing that people report about Cadborosaurus is it has a fluke on the end of a tail.
Yep.
And I think she saw the two, and the fluke of a Cadborosaurus is different. It's not like two pins coming off like a whale. It's kind of like shredded. So there's like a tail in the middle and then two pieces on the side that look smaller.
Right.
And there's a reason we have that good of a description. To get into a more in-depth description of the Cadborosaurus, it's described as a long serpentine marine creature, typically 20 to 70 feet in length, and witnesses consistently report a horse-like or camel-like head with large eyes, sometimes with horn-like projections on top of it. It has a long neck that often arches above the water, vertical humps along the back moving like in a wave motion, small flippers near the front, and a fan-shaped fluke tail. And the colors range from a dark green to a brown to a black. And the movement is always very fluid and purposeful, and often interactive. This is different than what we see with Ogopogo. It has been reported surfacing, diving, chasing prey, fighting with orcas, and even scratching its head on barnacled rocks. And that's been reported several times. This thing is actually so commonly seen that they actually have a speed of how fast they've seen it go. Cadborosaurus has been estimated going about 40 miles an hour while it swims.
40 miles an hour.
Yes, sir.
Was that like 70 to 80 kilometers an hour?
I think something similar to that. I think closer to 70.
64 kilometers an hour.
Okay, yeah. So pretty fast. Now, we call it Cadborosaurus, and sightings have gone back 200 years. But sightings have gone back a lot further with Native Americans. This includes the Haida, Coast Salish, and Tlingit tribes. The Haida and the Tlingit stories speak of a Wasco or a Gonakadat. Translated means a sea wolf or sea serpent hybrid with a wolf. And these creatures were associated with transformation and deep respect for the ocean's power. Kind of similar to how they saw the Ogopogo.
Right.
And they weren't feared, but they were revered. Similar to the Ogopogo as well. There's lots of similarities between these two. In Coast Salish oral histories, they describe long-bodied sea beings with horse-like heads. And these creatures were often seen as omens or protectors, appearing during seasonal shifts or significant events. And if you go around several other tribes in the area, they all talk about this strange sea serpent creature that inhabits the Strait of Georgia. So this is common amongst all the tribes. We even have pictographs all up the island and on the mainland depicting a serpentine beast in the water. This is a petroglyph that was found near the Nanaimo River in 1974.
I would describe that as kind of serpentine or dragon-like. It has the long whiskers on the front of it, like you'd think with a Chinese depiction of like a dragon, but in more of a indigenous art style.
Yes, and there's pictographs all like that, all up the island and down the mainland.
I saw a pictograph myself here on my birthday. I was over at a beach along the island here.
Yeah,
and there was a pictograph at Aylard Farms.
Was it like of a serpent or
I think
what?
it was like a whale or a seal or something.
Okay.
So no, not a serpent. It definitely wasn't serpentine.
Okay. Now, when it comes to like European guys, they did start coming over here to the 1800s in the west side of Canada. But when they started coming here, they also started reporting serpentine beasts in the water. However, they did not have a name for it. They just reported a sea serpent in the water. And I can't even tell you when the first sighting was. So that's why it's an estimated been seen over 300 times. But what I can tell you is popularity definitely went up in the 1930s because another sea monster was getting reported on the other side of the world in Loch Ness.
Which one?
Guess.
Could it have been the Loch Ness Monster?
Holy shit, you are learning. Yes. People even called this BC's Loch Ness Monster or the Ogopogo BC's Loch Ness Monster. Everything was somebody's Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
But people didn't want to just rip off the name Loch Ness anything. We needed our own name for our own monster. So, the Victoria Daily Times started to run a voting campaign on what they should name the monster. And their rival newspaper, the Times Colonist, started one as well. Editor of the Victoria Daily Times, Archie Wills, is credited with making the name for the monster. He combined Cadboro Bay and Saurus, like from a dinosaur, which means lizard in Greek. So he called it Cadborosaurus. And that got a lot of attention. People really liked it. But the Times Colonist had another name that they thought was much better. Amy.
Amy?
Amy. I'm not even joking. The Times Colonist's rival name for Cadborosaurus was Amiable Amy.
Like AMY Amy?
Yes. It's the
easier to spell. I'll give it that.
So Times Colonist was like, they actually had a rivalry going on. They did not like each other.
Yeah.
And the Times Colonist was like, the Cadborosaurus is a stupid name. We want to call our monster Amiable Amy. And people did not like that name at all and voted for Cadborosaurus. And that's how we got its name, which later became Caddy.
No. Well, I know that the Times Colonist is still around today.
Yes.
Is the Victoria Times?
I don't believe so.
Well, there you go.
They won the battle but lost the war.
Did they just like pick a name? Was Amy short for something?
No, it's Amiable Amy. That was the full name of the monster.
Just a catchy thing someone came up with.
Yeah.
And they like, rolled with it.
And they said they thought that was going to be the name, but everyone no. Everyone voted for Cadborosaurus.
Fair.
Yeah. Because
it's a monster.
Yeah. Lots of the sightings up to this point were in Cadboro Bay.
Yeah.
So it made sense. Another name that was actually coined for the monster was, quote, get ready for this, Old Hyashuckaluk.
Can you spell that for me really quick?
Yes, I can. Hyaschuckaluck.
Cool. Thank you.
They called it this because it was more from the native regions. They had a variant of this name and they just kind of made it more anglicized. However, the Cadborosaurus was more preferred. Now, at this time, October 20th, 1933, we got our first witness sketch of the creature as it swam through Cadboro Bay. This is known as the Kemp sketch, where they reported the creature with its head out of the water, swimming with multiple humps along the back of it. This is that picture.
This one does seem more kind of dinosaur-like in a way.
Yeah.
Just the way the spines along the back are, they're almost like longer and curved in a way.
Yeah.
Given it as a sketch, but it almost... I don't want to say furry.
Actually, you'd be kind of right to say furry.
Yeah?
Because sometimes Cadborosaurus is reported to have a mane of hair and ridges on its back. And lots of people actually believe that Cadborosaurus is more mammalian than it is reptilian. And that's due to the cold temperatures in the water out here. A reptilian creature would not survive.
No.
However, a mammalian creature would. And this ties back to what we talked about in the Ogopogo episode with the theory that it's a Basilosaurus, an ancient serpentine-like whale. If that creature is the similar creature as this, it would make sense that it would be more mammalian. Because it also swims more mammalian, going up and down instead of horizontally what way it swims.
Right. More like a whale or a dolphin as opposed to a snake.
Exactly. Now, after this, several sightings kept coming in of Caddy and Cadboro Bay. But in 1937, that's when we got the most famous encounter with Cadborosaurus that has ever been reported and is still debated to this day. In 1937, in Naden Harbor, a whaling crew was working on a dead whale they just caught. They bring it right onto the dock and they started cutting it up, flaying it up into pieces. Part of this was opening all the stomachs. I didn't know if you know this, but sperm whales have 3 stomachs.
Probably related to the cow.
Maybe, I guess they are both mammals.
I did not know that, though.
Okay, there you go. Fun fact. Well, in one of these stomachs, they found something strange. A creature that they had never seen before. So they called their boss over and had them take a look at this strange creature. The creature had a horse camel-like head, very serpentine, 2 front flippers, and a fluke at the end of the tail. Now, they didn't know what to do with this, but the boss had a great idea that we don't normally see in other cryptozoology cases. Let's splay it out and take a photo. I got those photos for you, James.
Oh, thank goodness. Worried you were going to say they were lost with time.
No, not yet.
First picture, you can't really make anything out. It's just like a table on a dock for like cleaning fish, or I guess a whale in this case.
Do you not see the creature on top of it?
I guess there's something long
There's a creature
on top of the table.
There's a creature on the table about 10 feet long.
The head of it kind of looks like almost like a sock puppet.
A little bit.
I see the tail hanging off. Boy, do I wish cameras were better back then. Even like the close-up of the head, you can't really make out any solid details.
It was also digested.
Yeah, right.
So like there was exposed vertebrae. There was nothing really to it. It's just this strange shape of an animal.
A whale swallowed something long whole.
Yes. And they didn't know what this was. So after this, they figured the best possible thing was to send it to the BC Museum in Victoria. And when it was sent there, a lot of people saw this thing. It was stored in a tub of acetone. So a lot of people got to look at this. People on the boat, people in the harbor, and people in the harbor in Victoria when they got there. And lots of people said they didn't know what this thing was. This thing, they could not identify it. Until they got to the museum. The director of the RBC Museum examined it himself. His name was Francis Kermode. And he declared that this creature was a baleen whale fetus.
Okay.
Everyone didn't think that was true. He basically disregarded the whalers' point of view and reports as being just blue-collar guys on a dock, and he thought he knew better. A lot of people, when they heard this, said, no, this is not a baleen whale fetus. I have a picture of a baleen whale fetus for you.
Perfect, let's see it.
Here is a baleen whale fetus.
Okay, that looks different, for sure. It's got a big old whale head on it, for starters.
And it has, like, legs on it. It's very strange. It does not look like what the guys found in the belly of a sperm whale.
Mm-hmm. I was looking up here, just kind of like, how big can an eel grow, for example?
Yeah.
And there is a giant moray eel that can grow, it says, over 10 feet in length.
Mm-hmm.
But those are more Indo-Pacific rather than, where we are in the Pacific here.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean they wasn't, eaten and brought over, but who knows?
Some people suggested an eel or an oarfish.
Yeah.
But what causes people to sway away from that is the fluke tail.
Right.
That tail at the very end, it's like a fluky tail, like ribboned up.
Yeah.
Eels tend to have it kind of just go off and taper.
Yep.
This one spreads out.
Right.
And so lots of people said that it was a basking shark. But the problem with that is the tail was flat, like a whale's tail, not vertical like a shark's tail. So people didn't know what this body was. So they wanted to do more research on it. Unfortunately, after it made its way to the RBC Museum, it disappeared and has never been seen again.
A cover-up.
A cover-up. We don't know why it was never seen again. Some say that the museum just disregarded it completely and threw it out because it was a waste of their time.
Probably smelled pretty bad.
It wasn't acetone, but probably. But they thought it was nothing of it and just didn't do any more research on it, because what else can you do in the 1930s? It's just basically looking at it.
Right.
They don't have DNA testing or anything like that. And since those guys are probably holier than thou scientists and think they know better than anyone else experiencing anything else, they just threw it out. Although some people do say cover-up. But I lean towards more ignorant scientists.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more likely at this point.
That's what I think. Also, we're not on the episode about museum cover-ups. We'll get to it.
The Smithsonian.
Getting there. So that's the last people saw of the Naden Harbor carcass. But the weird thing about this that could also add to a possible cover-up is Dr. Ian McTaggart Cohen. He was an RBC Museum vertebrate zoologist, returned to Victoria from doing field work in Revelstoke, BC, and he wanted to ask about it. There was no carcass in the museum's collections, but not only that, there was no record of entry and no mention of any sort of interaction between the director and this beast. However, we have several other witnesses claiming, no, this did happen. We have witnesses on the harbor. We have witnesses on the harbor in Victoria. We have witnesses people taking it to the museum and then never seen again. So we don't know what happened. But it is listed as strange. Just something that adds it in. Also, it's weird that we can tie a conspiracy to a sea serpent.
Tie conspiracy to anything.
It makes things fun.
I guess record keeping in Victoria in the 1930s wasn't the greatest.
Record keeping, basically before computers, was never the greatest.
Hard to believe, hey?
Yeah, basically whoever won wrote it down, and if they didn't want something written down, they didn't write it down. Even though this body was seen as something that couldn't be figured out, people were still reporting seeing a serpent in the waters, not only in Cadborough Bay or in the Georgia Strait, but also in the Saanich Inlet. It is largely believed that the Saanich Inlet is where Cadborosaurus goes to spawn. And I know that sounds crazy, but the sighting of Cadborosaurus going from California all the way up to Alaska, it seems to follow sightings. Sightings seem to go in order of where they could be, and also it suggests that it's migratory, and it can move up and down the coast depending on what the weather is like for the creature. There's actually a report from back in the 1940s or 50s of a bunch of kids using long lines in Saanich Inlet. And as they pulled some up, they found a bunch of serpentine creatures about 2 feet long in their net. Not thinking anything of it, they just threw them all back. But they allegedly did not look like anything they'd ever encountered before. That is just a story, though, and it's popular locally.
Yeah, I mean, those could have very well been eels. Like, we do have eels.
We do have eels. So we don't know.
Yeah.
But that is a story. Doesn't mean I don't have some more sightings for you, though.
Perfect. I've lived here most of my life. When do I get a sighting?
I would love to see Cadborosaurus, honestly.
What do they call it in Alaska or California?
It's called Cadborosaurus.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how popular it is. It is coined the Cadborosaurus.
There you go.
So I have several sightings for you throughout the 20th century, all with witness sketches. So this is from 1936. This is known as the Gonzales Bay sighting. It was in the summertime, and a man and his sister saw a strange creature swimming in the water. Here is that drawing, and it's an old drawing, but they even talked about the color and everything, wrote it all down, and pointed it out in every area. They noticed a creature that had this strange horse-like head, followed by 2 loops or bumps coming out of the water, and a fluke at the end of the tail. Here is that image.
This one is very serpent-like.
Yes.
I mean, that was a pretty good description. They did draw kind of like a horse-like head on it. They do say camel-like head. Yellow eye. They said there's a bit of a black mane on it. As you would picture like a drawing of a serpent with the humps coming out of the water, that is what this is.
Yeah, no, it's very on point. And the amount of pictures and stuff we get or descriptions we get that all kind of are the same is crazy to me.
I could draw one right now.
You could, and it would be correct. Here's the thing that's kind of not as exciting about Cadborosaurus. Lots of the sightings are kind of like this. See something swimming?
Mhm.
It's very descriptive. They all match other descriptions, but there's nothing outlandish. The Cadborosaurus is seen as a very gentle creature. It mostly goes after small game.
It's not attacking boats. It's
Nope.
not strangling whales in the harbor.
Nope. Nothing like that.
No chunks of half seals washing up on shore.
Not that I could see. It mainly seems to go for fish and birds, from what people have reported. There's actually a report from back in the 1950s of two hunters hunting a duck. It was up near, I think, Cowichan area. And they were hunting this duck, and they shot it, but only enough to injure it. And the duck flew off kind of haphazardly and landed in the water. So now one of the hunters wanted to get it because it was just kind of floating near the beach. So he began walking towards it. And as he did, he saw a massive wake in the water. And when he looked over, he saw the head of this serpentine creature sticking up, looking at him and looking at the bird. And as he got closer, the creature got closer. And as he got closer, the creature got closer.
He kept going closer.
To the bird, yes.
Did he see the creature?
Yeah, no, both of these guys are seeing it.
I wouldn't go closer.
He wants to try to get this bird. I don't know what this determination it was, but these are two men, and I forget the names off my head, but this is a story according to them. And as he got close enough to the bird, the creature went underwater, and he thought he could snatch it. And as he went to snatch it, the creature opened its mouth from under the water and snapped the bird and looked at him. He said that the creature had fish-like teeth and like a white tongue, kind of like a fish. And it had a horse-like head with the snake-like eyes. Apparently, after the creature snapped the bird, it looked at him like, too late, and then slowly turned its head and dove back into the water.
This was very brave of that man.
I wouldn't do that. I don't know what he was thinking, but Canadians are really chill with their sea monsters, I've noticed. Not many people are really scared of them.
Well, I mean, if it's like the other sea mammals we have around here, most of them aren't, very hostile. We have orcas for sure. We have some other whales. We have seals. We have sea
Porpoises.
lions.
Yeah.
A lot of mammals in the water around here, and most of them just kind of let you be or ask you for your fish scraps.
They only usually mess with you if you're taking food or messing with their kids.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they don't really do much to you. And it's kind of similar with Caddy. And I don't know what it is, but it's like the same thing. We talked about with the Ogopogo too. No one really wants to catch it. Nobody really wants to hurt it. Nobody really wants anything about it. They just think it's cool when they see it. And they leave it at that.
Yeah, fair.
If we were in America right now, they would get their guns, they would get their boats, they would call them the Navy. They would be trying to take this thing out.
Well, you say that, but you also said there were sightings in California and Alaska.
Yes.
Those are two different Americas.
California and Alaska, yes. But the ones in California, it's California. They ain't going to do nothing. No. But yeah, nothing has happened really from those points of view.
I'd be interested in an Alaskan point of view because there's lots of native heritage up there, right?
Yeah, they talk about a serpent as well in these waters. It all goes all the way down along this. They talk about it.
Yeah.
And I may have an Alaskan point of view for you in a bit, but not yet.
Not yet, okay.
However, we do have another Cadborosaurus caught. In 1968, William Hagelin was on a sailboat with his son, and they were just kind of throwing nets in the water, seeing what they could pull up. And as they were pulling stuff up, they found a bunch of small little fish, things like that. And they saw something they'd never seen before. A strange snake-like creature. It was about 16 inches long, and he said it was, quote, like a husky gardener snake. It had two flippers on the front of it, and and a small fluke on the back. Now, he didn't know what to make of it, and he thought it might have been a new species. So he put it in a bucket, and he was going to take it to the nearest biology research station, which was about a day's sail away. As they sailed through the night, he heard it making a fuss in the bucket, and he grabbed the bucket and shined a flashlight down in the water in the bucket. And apparently this little creature looked at the flashlight, opened its mouth to show several fangs, and hiss at him. Now, he had a bit of a decision to make. He felt really bad for this thing. He caught it in a net, he threw it in a bucket, it's been there for a day, and he can either try to get this thing to the research station, which is another days away, and it probably wouldn't make it, or he could let it go. He said the creature looked very put out, and he was afraid it was going to die. So he took the bucket and released it back to the ocean.
How noble.
Again, Canadians don't like to hurt their sea serpents. But he did draw us a picture of what he caught in his net. Here's the creature that he left in that bucket. Feast your eyes.
It's got the measurement of 18 inches at the bottom. Okay, here's the descriptions written on there. It's got a 3-inch long head with a hooked upper jaw, tiny teeth on both jaws, upper and lower, and large eyes. I would describe this as vaguely horse-like, I guess, in the sense that it's a long head. It says it had plate scales along the back, yellow fuzz on the bottom of it. The thing was about 1 to 1.5 inches in diameter, like the body of it. Black on top and brown on the sides, probably referring to like the scales or whatever. And then ragged ends on the tail. I guess probably like that same kind of torn look you were talking about.
Yeah, that torn fluke.
Yeah.
Seems to be a thing that's commonly reported with Caddy. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get this thing back, because if we did, we wouldn't be talking about it today. It would probably be a confirmed species, or at least debunked to be something else. Some people say that this could be a needlefish.
Okay, that's kind of what I was picturing, but also different from the drawing. Needlefish are, a lot more fish-like, and they have just really long mouths. I would say it's different enough, though.
The only issue I have is that he kept reporting it as snake-like.
Oh, hold on. The more I'm looking at needlefish, the more similarities I'm kind of making out. There's still differences, of course. The big difference being here, there's like, I guess kind of like a front flipper on it, the drawing, whereas the needlefish does not have that.
No. There's definitely similarities. I have caught a needlefish, and they are weird, but I don't think that what he saw was a needlefish, especially since it hissed, and it was more snake-like.
Yeah, I mean, a needlefish wouldn't look up at you, much less hiss, poke its head out of the water and do anything. It's a fish.
Yeah, I don't think that that's what the guy saw.
Fish, they're pretty dumb, instinctual animals. They're not smart like a mammal.
Just shit talk fish on here, okay?
I mean, how big of a brain do you think a fucking needlefish has? You're stupid. Like a Texan.
We're not even in America. You're still talking shit about Americans.
When you're in Texas, they probably think that's I don't know.
Go ahead, dig a deeper hole for yourself. I'll let you.
I can't even think of anything right now. What they think of that is.
You keep talking shit about Americans, yet our American audience keeps growing.
I think that's a coincidence.
They haven't heard these episodes yet. After these sightings, Caddy was still seen sporadically throughout the 70s and 80s, but not very much. And in 1987, several scientists actually claimed that it no longer exists, that it went extinct. However, a few scientists came forward and said, no, we think it still does. And these are zoologists Dr. Paul LeBlanc and Dr. Edward Blousfield. They argued that the creature is still alive, and they also argued that the Naden Harbor carcass was real. And also after this, sightings began to blow up again. People started to come forward again that they saw it, including this sighting from 1987. This was in Backer's Pass between Cortez and Hernando Islands. It was in the summer of 1987. A man was on a boat as he was flying down through the strait when he saw what he thought was a large tree sticking out of the water. But then the tree lifted its head and looked at him. He said the creature had a giraffe-like head with small horns, and the head and neck was protruding about 6 feet out of the water, with large humps trailing behind it. It swam quickly by the boat, so close that he noted the muscles on the body moving, and the color was similar to that of an arbutus tree. The sighting lasted several minutes until it disappeared from night down into the depths. And he drew a picture of what he saw. Now, James, I'm going to need your opinion on this one.
That's how you know it's going to be good.
I need you to tell me, better or worse than the Lizard Man?
I will never hesitate to smear Chris's name on that awful drawing.
Okay, well, this might be worse.
Okay.
Feast your eyes.
You know, I'd say that's not worse.
You think that's not
Chris
worse?
is the worst artist in the world.
No matter what, you'll fucking give Chris shit.
It's close, though. This is awful. It's like if you took a camel and just like really elongated it and then put it in the water.
It's like somebody drowned a camel.
And then you drew it on your first try without any sketch lines, just solid lines.
Yeah. And I don't know what to make of this report because the guy was very descriptive on what he saw, but then he drew that. So,
The hydraulic pressed camel.
the hydraulic press camel. However, sightings did not end there. After Terry Osland's sighting in 1994, there was another boat of people who saw the Cadborosaurus. This was in July, very early in the day, just outside Roberts Bay. The water was reportedly flat and calm, like glass. And as they were looking around, something broke the surface. And when they looked to see what it was a large head and neck that rose vertically and remained there for approximately 40 seconds, and then sank back into the depths. They described it as approximately 10 feet in height, blackish green color. The witnesses described it as ugly, and you couldn't wrap your arms around it. This witness ran wildlife cruises for 9 years, and is an experienced boater, and he had never seen anything like this on the water. And he drew a sketch as well. And honestly, this guy's a bit of an artist, so this is actually not that bad.
It is a sketch of a thick neck with a head on top of it, depicted as 10 feet sticking straight up out of the water. There isn't much in the way of detail on the head, other than a big black eye and kind of like a camel-y snout on it.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
It looks silly,
It does look kind of silly.
but that's what the thing is reported to look like.
Okay, now,
Yes.
but much more so you, know a family that has a whale watching boat
Yes.
/ company.
Yes.
Have they ever seen the Cadborosaurus as far as you know?
As far as I know, they haven't. But if they're listening, I would love for them to get back to me if they have. And even though they haven't seen the Cadborosaurus as far as I know, someone in my family has.
Really?
My great-grandfather, Grandpa Ken, saw the Cadborosaurus while he was out fishing.
Is this the one that hung that man off the boat?
No, that was my Grandpa Reg. But he was an avid fisherman. And he went out early in the morning. He used to live out in Souk, which is a very coastal town here on Vancouver Island. And when he went out fishing, he was setting everything up out in the water when he said he saw several humps in the water that he couldn't explain. And he said that it was the Cadborosaurus. So there is a lot of witnesses. But again, this kind of goes to show that this isn't in the official reporting, though. There's over 300 reported sightings of Cadborosaurus, but there's lots of other stories that aren't in the official database, like that one. Again, a lot of people are seeing this thing, and sightings have become pretty common all the way up and down the coast, and they seem to follow a migratory pattern with the time of year that they are.
Right. What time of year are they normally seen here?
Summertime.
Summertime.
Yeah, around summertime is when people see them. And somebody that I've brought up on the podcast before, that you're going to laugh as soon as I bring him up, Mike also has a report about the Cadborosaurus.
Mike making another appearance.
Yes. So, Mike does have a famed Bigfoot story, but also he has a theory on the Cadborosaurus.
I would love to hear it.
Well, Mike's a fisherman, and when he was fishing out near some of the other islands around Vancouver Island, he went on to one of them, and I forget which one it was. But when he got on there, he smelled something terrible that he could not put a finger on. It was the worst smell he had ever smelled in his life. So much so that the people that were with him couldn't go any further, and he went back. However, he had a theory. This island had a big lake in the middle of it that has tunnels to the Pacific Ocean. And this was at a time in around fall. And he thinks the Cadborosaurus would catch some prey, bring it back through the tunnels, and store it in some of these smaller islands, and then go back out on its migratory path as it went through, and then come back to more food later. I think it's interesting.
I think that's absurd.
I think it's interesting. I like the theory because the Cadborosaurus is seen not as much in open waters, but kind of around the islands. So I think it's an interesting theory.
Right, but I've also never heard of any lakes on the islands that have tunnels. So I guess they would be saltwater lakes.
Maybe, or it would be just like something that changes throughout, or like one of those underground tunnels that we talked about in the Okanagan. I don't know.
But I mean, it boils down to he pulled up on an island and smelt something.
Yeah, but he might have a bigger story, but I haven't heard him talk about it in a long time. But it's an interesting story.
Mike, the guy that saw the Bigfoot, seems like an interesting character for sure.
Do you want him on the podcast? I can bring him here. I'll bring him on as a guest one day. James is adamantly shaking his head. You watch, you wait, I'll surprise you. Well, anyway, that's Mike's claim. But what I do think is I think there is something to the migratory patterns of Cadborosaurus. Because a lot of these sightings are between July and August. Not all of them, but most of them. We even have sightings in the Saanich Inlet, right around Mill Bay, off the docks at Mill Bay. In 1999, a whole dock of people saw a strange rolling serpent in the inlet. They said that the head was like a horse, but shorter, followed by 3 humps, each lower than the previous one, leaving a wake in the rather calm water. The head was just above the water and traveled in a straight line, and the sighting lasted several minutes. Here is the drawing from that encounter.
It's a simple yet beautiful drawing, I would say. It's quite clearly from the view of a deck or a balcony because you can see the railings on it, looking out over the water with a dock on it. And there is a shadowy sight of a... You could describe it as a serpent because there's like a head and a couple of small humps trailing in the water behind it with the little shadows.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how I would describe it.
You'd be bang on describing that.
It's almost as if I was looking at it.
Sightings don't end there. 1999 was a hot year for Cadborosaurus sightings. We have another sighting in August off of Indian Island. The water, again, flat calm. A couple were sitting on the beach when they saw something breach the water. Almost like you've heard this one before. As they looked out, they saw a long, thin, dark gray object protruding about 3 feet from the water and saw a strange reptilian-like head with 2 eyes, about a foot in length. Behind in the water, they could see what seemed like bumps or humps, where the body obviously continued below the surface. They observed the animal for several minutes until it disappeared back in the water. They estimated the creature at 30 to 60 feet long. Here is the image from that sighting. Yes, it is another drawing.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
People drawing it.
People see a serpent and then draw it.
They have a lot of artists on the island.
It's like the easiest monster to draw.
It's like a giraffe, the long way.
Another pretty poor drawing. Poor yet detailed enough at the same time.
It's a weird combo, isn't it?
Yeah.
The drawing's bad, but the measurements are kind of neat.
It says reptilian head, which is a cool change of pace as opposed to a horse or camel head.
Yeah.
Sighted just off of Indian Island, west coast Vancouver Island. Summer 1998. Gray or brown in color. Sighting lasted for 5 to 10 minutes. Creature remained nearly stationary for most of the encounter. Then the pictures of a like I say, a reptilian head on a long neck sticking quite a bit out of the water, with a small hump question mark behind it. Viewed through binoculars, maybe with light mist. Extremely calm and flat water's surface. 2 witnesses. And they said it was about 50 to 75 feet off of shore.
So in the 90s, you can see that sightings jumped back up, and those are just the sightings that had drawings accompanied with it. What are you thinking about the Cadborosaurus right now? Do you have any opinions on the drawings, on what the people are saying? What's on your mind?
Well, like I just said there, they're all very consistent. Like, even though that one said reptilian head, the head drawing was still similar enough to the rest of them, where it doesn't really make me question it compared to the others.
Yeah.
It's funny, because like I've never heard too much about it here, having grown up and lived here most of my life.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you bring that up, because I was talking to my mom this week, and she asked me, hey, what are you doing on the podcast? And I said, oh, we're doing the Cadborosaurus. And she was just kind of like, oh, that's real? And I was like, yeah, what do you mean that's real? She's like, I just thought it was the cool statue down in Cadboro Bay. And I said, no, that's based on the actual sea monster we have here. And she's like, oh, well, that's good. And she was kind of like, I didn't know we had a sea monster. And she seemed a little taken back that we had one. And she had no idea that it was actually a real, like, sea serpent people have been seeing.
Yeah.
She thought it was just a cool statue. And for those who don't know, there's a playground at Cadboro Bay with a bunch of different sea creatures like octopus and stuff like that. And one of the statues in the playground is a massive sea serpent.
I was there as a kid, and I always thought it was just the Ogopogo.
A lot of people think it's the Ogopogo.
Which doesn't make sense, because we're on an island in the Pacific Ocean and nowhere near the Okanagan.
Yeah. And everyone forgets about Cadborosaurus, unfortunately, which I think is a really cool animal.
You know, if they just called it Amy, it'd be easy to spell, and we'd still know about it.
Do you really think amiable Amy would stand out compared to Cadborosaurus? Think about it, okay? We got the Loch Ness Monster, the Ogopogo, the Lake Champlain Monster. Amiable Amy. Doesn't really fit. It's like a name test.
Sure, but Cadborosaurus is also... It also doesn't really fit.
Caddy. We call it Cadborosaurus, but its term of Nessie is Caddy. Its nickname.
Sure, but most of the other sources that we hear about are things we have fossils of and kind of agree on exist.
Understandable.
Do we have any fossils of this thing?
What do you mean by fossils? Like from like thousands of millions of years ago, or like modern day?
Bones, I guess? I don't know. From whenever.
Oh, it's funny you do ask that, James. I may have more bodies for you.
Perfect.
This is another carcass that was found on October 4th, 1936, allegedly of Caddy, somewhere on Vancouver Island. I don't know where. It's 2 images. There's one of it splayed out on the rocks, and there's another one where they kind of coiled it all up, and you can kind of see it. It's very decomposed, but it's weird. We don't know what it is. Feast your eyes.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to make out what it is. It's long. It's like a long deflated balloon on the rocks, kind of.
It's very weird. Lots of people don't know what it is. Some people say it could be a basking shark.
Mm-hmm.
It is rather long, but we don't know. So that's one carcass that we did find. However, there are more carcasses that we did find. And you were asking earlier about the Alaskan point of view.
Yes.
Which I have for you. This is called the Alaskan carcass. The first 2 images you see here are of the Alaskan carcass. The first one is a bunch of people standing around it, and then another one's more up close to what they believe is the head of the creature. Again, very decomposed, but it does look somewhat similar to the 1936 carcass. Feast your eyes.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time you said feast your eyes today, I'd probably have about 50 cents. A lot of bones.
A lot of bones on that one.
Well, as someone who is not a marine biologist, it is hard for me to tell you what that may or may not be.
It is a difficult thing to tell.
It's a chunk of flesh on the ground.
Lots of people think it's maybe a basking shark. They don't know.
Yeah.
But again, inconclusive.
I mean, it could very easily be conclusive if they tested it.
This is true.
That photo is not black and white.
It is not. That was from the early 2000s. But the Alaskans are the first group of people to get something that we haven't got yet. A video.
Really?
Yes, sir. Not only a video of the creature, but a video that was looked at by the guys who were the captains of the Time Bandit, the boat from Deadliest Catch. They did a special researching.
The crab people?
Yes, the crab people. They did a special in 2009 on the Cadborosaurus where they went to look for it. Not joking.
I know you're not joking. I'm just can't help but think that is a producer recommended special episode.
It wasn't part of Deadliest Catch. It was a separate show. I don't know the story behind it, but they did a Discovery Channel special.
Stories, let's make some money.
Basically. But a guy in Alaska had a video of what he thought was the Cadborosaurus. And I got that video for you. This video was taken in 2009 by Kelly Nash. Him and his sons were fishing in Nushagak Bay when they saw something breach from the water and begin undulating with multiple humps behind it. The footage was featured on Discovery Channel's Hill Stranded, which featured the hill strands from Deadliest Catch. And it still remains one of the most widely cited pieces of evidence for when it comes to film of the Cadborosaurus. It depicts multiple in the video, allegedly swimming side by side, and people still cannot debunk what it is. Here's that video.
There's a whole family of these darn things.
Last year, he shot this video of what looks like a sea monster.
Okay, just keep watching. Now watch, its head's gonna come out. Its head's gonna pop out. Check this out.
It's blue. So those aren't sea lions. You've seen sea lions. Held up. It's got humps that are...
They're 20 to 30 feet long. They're long, skinny things.
Oh, that is... No.
What the heck is that?
Give me your thoughts. You look like you're loading a gun right now.
It's very similar to videos we've seen of the Loch Ness Monster, where it's in black shape in the water.
Yes.
No head sticking out 10 feet.
Nope.
No humps sticking out any significant amount.
Nope.
Not even fully breached the water, I'd say.
No. That's like the Ogopogo.
Yeah, it's a long black shape.
Now, the video has been altered. This video has been looked into and researched. It wasn't altered in any sort of way that would affect, like, no Photoshop, no nothing like that. What it has been altered was the contrast and settings like that were upped and brightness was upped so you could see the shapes better. And with that, some of the colorization was taken out to make it look darker.
Right.
Now, here's the part that people are looking for. If you look in the video, it has been confirmed that there are multiple in the video. There's at least two, because you can see them swimming side by side. However, people do not think it's sea lions. They think the pattern's too fast, it's too uniform. Lots of biologists have looked at it and say they don't think it's sea lions. They also don't think it's dolphins, because there's no dorsal fin.
Could have been a couple of seals. Seals can grow pretty freaking big.
Seals can grow pretty big. But they think that the way it was moving in a line like that, and how there was easily two, like there was two lines that were moving in unison, they don't think it was a seal. This has been looked at by several biologists, marine biologists, video editors, and they can't figure out what it is. Partially not because it's mysterious, partially because the video has been altered a tad and they can't figure out what's in the video, but also because they don't think it's some other things. The part that really gets people is the very end when you see the head come up and shoot water. You see that mist coming out from the end of the face. It isn't placed where a seal would be. It's more placed like where a whale would be. And it's not on top of the head. It looks more like it's towards near the front. And if we look at other pictures and drawings of Caddy, the nostrils are kind of on top, kind of like Voldemort-y, or like this big horse-shaped head. It's kind of more where the nostrils would be on that. So a lot of people do think that this is credible video evidence of a possible sea serpent. I know you're looking at me like I'm fucking nuts right now. But it has been analyzed by several people, and it's still up for debate.
Yeah, I'll chalk that one up as still for debate.
Yeah. Now, we have no confirmation from the video that it's a sea monster, We have no confirmation from the video that it's anything we know yet. That's basically all we know. It's inconclusive.
Yeah.
But it has other things have been debunked when it comes to other possible mammalian creatures in the area.
So we have a non-aggressive sea serpent.
Yeah.
It's a shame it's not friendlier, like enough to make itself actually known.
It's rather
Or
elusive.
it's also a shame it's not hostile enough to also make itself known.
Yes. As far as we know, there's been no reported attacks or anything bumping boats or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just been chilling. But there's been reports from boaters. There's an alleged report from 1991 on a BC ferry of several people seeing the Cadborosaurus swimming along the ferry, but I could not find anything that sourced it back to that. But it is a story that goes around. So, with a grain of salt. We even have reports from people who fly the seaplanes around here. There's a report from pilot James Wells, who was a seaplane pilot, and he said as he was landing, beside him, there was a serpentine creature, probably a few hundred feet away. He said that it definitely wasn't a whale because he saw the hoop humps that you normally see in the classic drawings of serpents, and he could see underneath some of the humps as he was landing. And because he had a speedometer and he was going beside the creature, he said it was estimated going at about 40 miles an hour. So we have fishermen talking about it. We have people who fly planes talking about it. We have people on the beaches talking about it. And they all have similar drawings, as well as stories going back thousands of years with the several native tribes in the region. And here's the coolest thing about this, is the sightings haven't fizzled off. We have a sighting from this year, James.
This year?
This year, months ago. In Campbell River, British Columbia. 2 boys were playing on a beach when they were looking out in the water, and they saw several birds kind of just floating around, your typical waterfowl, seagulls. When all of a sudden there was a rumble in the water, and one of the seagulls went to fly up off of the surface, when a massive head of a creature came up and took the seagull out of midair and dragged it back down to the depths. These boys saw a serpentine head with fangs and a fluked tail. And we have a drawing from them as well of what they saw. And in my opinion, this is one of the cooler drawings I've ever seen of the Cadborosaurus, and I think it's one of the better ones because these boys had computers and they could use computer tech. This sighting was from July 11th, 2025. A little shocked by that one, aren't you?
Definitely looks monstrous. Said the head and neck was sticking 6 feet out of the water. I guess the head itself was 2 to 3 feet long, and it's about a foot in diameter for the neck. And it also shows the tail, which is kind of splayed out. It's got a couple little, I don't want to call them horns, but more similar to a giraffe's.
Yeah, they look like protrusions.
Yeah.
I don't know what we would call them.
I've been blanking on what the giraffe ones are called off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter. And then it looks pretty dragon-like almost, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
A dragon sea serpenty thing.
Yeah.
It's got very vicious teeth in it. Yeah, I don't know. Now that would be a terrifying thing to see in the real world.
Yep.
I would be in disbelief if I saw that.
You are in disbelief right now of this entire case?
We haven't said that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to talk to you about some of the regional comparisons from California all the way up to Alaska.
Okay.
So, similar creatures have been reported along the Pacific coast. In San Francisco Bay in the 1980s, there was a sighting of a sea serpent chasing a sea lion. This was not formally linked to Caddy, but the description was very similar. There's also Lake Iliamna in Alaska, and they have the Lake Iliamna monster, which is often compared to Caddy. However, here's what I would say different, is the Lake Iliamna monster is more like a big shark-like mosasaur-like creature, less serpentine. So I wouldn't really compare the two, but it's another monster.
And also in a lake.
And Puget Sound, Washington have several reports of quote-unquote sea worms or quote-unquote sound serpents that echo Caddy's features. So lots of different descriptions of these creatures. And however, though, there are several skeptics, and they have some theories on what this could be. Some say that it is an oarfish, which is a long ribbon-like fish that undulate like serpents. Not true. They are long, but they don't undulate like serpents. They more move like a fish. And they do beach themselves sometimes. But they are like a shiny silver with a large sail on top of the head. Have you seen an oarfish before?
I was just about to pull a picture up, so I knew for sure. That is a long fish.
It is a long fish, and they used to be called doomsday fish because every time they beached themselves, it was a sign to people that something bad was going to happen, like a bad omen. But doesn't look like what people report with Cadborosaurus.
Not really.
People will say all the carcasses could just be basking shark carcasses because they, quote, look like plesiosaurs when they're decomposed. But again, Cadborosaurus is not a plesiosaur, it is a sea serpent. That doesn't match the description. Even people bring up the classic, it could be sea lions or otters swimming in a line, or just wave patterns or driftwood, the classic sea monster excuse. But lots of people disagree, including zoologist Dr. LeBlond. He said, quote, every elongated animal has been put forward to an explanation for Caddy, end quote. But here's the thing, is all of these possible explanations do not line up with what people see or report. So they're not real explanations if they don't actually explain anything.
Well, eyewitness testimony is the best form of testimony, right?
I understand that lots of it's eyewitness testimony, but yes, we do have one video, and also we do have a carcass, a few carcasses. One that's very important, the Naden Harbor carcass from 1937, which looked how people describe the creature. Now, it was put forth why Cadborosaurus is a possible creature. The biggest thing is that its habitat, the ocean, it's massive, it's incredibly deep, and it goes on for what feels like forever. It's not that hard for a creature to hide there for a long time. We just started seeing giant squids, and we've only explored about 5% of our oceans. So there could be things there that we don't know about. Unlike lake monsters or river monsters, where you can easily scan the whole lake, you can't really scan for a sea monster in the ocean. Also, the Pacific Northwest, a lot of sea life. It is abundant with sea life, which provides a very rich habitat for a monster to thrive in if it needed to. Also, the consistency in the sightings. Everyone's talking about the same thing. There's some lake monster sightings we talk about where it differs a lot. If we go back to Loch Ness, some say plesiosaur, some say serpent, some say something completely different. Like, they all kind of change as time goes on, and people kind of stuck with plesiosaur after the fake photo got released describing it as a plesiosaur. But with Caddy, it's been the same going back thousands of years, just like Ogopogo. Another thing about this is the migration and range of it, and how it matches up with what a migratory creature would do, going from all the way to the south, all the way to the north, but staying along that Pacific ridge. It does match a migratory pattern of a creature, which gives it more credence to its possibility of being a real thing. And it's not like that's unrealistic to think about. There's lots of marine creatures that are migratory, especially as waters get warmer and colder. So that does link up. If it stayed in one area the whole year round, it actually might be less feasible. But the fact that it moves and the sightings move with it, it adds something to that. Also, with the Naden Harbor carcass, going back to that, lots of zoologists argue the baleen whale theory, saying that the carcass does not match the anatomy of a baleen whale. And as I showed you in the photo, a baleen whale fetus does not look like the carcass. And they think that it is more consistent with reports of a Cadborosaurus than any other known possible globster, which is a decomposed creature that washes up on the shore they don't know the name of, or any other creature that they know of. It doesn't seem to be consistent with any of that.
Right.
And also, the biggest thing is the consistency of the anomalies with Native Americans and reports from Europeans in settled areas. They stay the same, even throughout oral history to written history. It stays the same. So there may be lack of hard-hitting evidence, but there's also an extreme lack of definitive debunking when it comes to Cadborosaurus. And that's why it kind of stays unknown. To this day, no one has a real explanation of what it could be, and none of the sightings can really be debunked as anything. They can be written off as things, but there's no scientific evidence or reasoning to back up the claims of debunking the creature. So it's an interesting one. I think Cadborosaurus is extremely interesting. I think there's a lot of stuff to it that really adds to it being a real creature.
That's for sure. Lots to ponder about with it.
Yeah, like just because the evidence is lacking, it's just as interesting that the debunking is lacking to me. But the sightings continue to this day. And with that, that's all I have on the Cadborosaurus. People still see it, people still talk about it, and just like every other Canadian cryptid, we leave it alone, let it swim out in the ocean and not bother it, so we're never going to find anything about it. But people see it. What's your opinion on the Cadborosaurus right now? Is there any questions you have?
I was going to say, like usual, just kind of wish there was, more to go off of, more photos or a body or something, but if we had that, then it wouldn't be a mystery, and we wouldn't be talking about it today.
And also, we did have a body, and it got covered up.
That one from the early 2000s you showed me the color photo of?
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking, like, that must have not been anything. Because if they took photos of it and were posing beside it, then I imagine they would have told somebody. And then if somebody looked into it, if it was something, we probably would have heard about it.
I believe those are heavily decomposed basking sharks.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of flesh, it's like mostly cartilage in a shark, right?
Yeah.
So what you get when a basking shark decomposes is a spine and a head, and it looks like a serpent. So I think that those carcasses are most likely basking sharks.
Yeah.
However, the Naden Harbor carcass, I don't know what that thing is.
That was definitely an interesting photo. It was, like I said, it was definitely hard to make out. Even the close-up of the head, it was given probably partially decomposed too, but hard to make out anything really. It was just a long hunk of flesh, essentially.
They did say at the dock that they could see vertebrae on the creature.
Yeah.
I think they counted like upwards of 30 vertebrae on the creature. Like people really did look at this thing. It's just weird how fast it was stopped.
It's too bad that one guy on the sailboat had a conscience and let the little baby one go.
Yeah, I get it, but also, yeah, I don't know what. Either he's lying or he's a nice guy, which I could see. I mean, if you capture a little baby creature, you might feel bad for it if you're a nice enough guy.
But like, you hold on to it for a day. You have to kind of assume at that point you're in it for the long run with it. You've accepted that it's fate.
He didn't want it to die. That's the whole thing. He wanted it to live in the bucket till he got there, and he said he didn't think it was going to make it. You and I live here.
We do.
We know what the people are like here.
Lots of great and wonderful people we live around.
Precisely. People with a conscience is what I would say. Lots of hippy-dippy types. If you ask other people around Canada what the island's like, first thing they say is usually hippies.
Yeah.
And man, you look around, people love keeping the nature, people love protecting the wildlife, which I don't blame them for. It's a beautiful place.
It is beautiful here.
And that kind of would match with our cryptids too. You don't see many people going out hunting cryptids. You see people wanting to experience cryptids, but not many who actually want to, like in America, hunt them down and capture them.
Not a lot of hunting here in the first place.
Not really. Well,
there is definitely some for deer.
It's not like,
but you can't go wandering around the woods with a gun or even a knife or anything really.
Yeah, very strict here.
And I definitely wouldn't want to go hand to hand with a Cadborosaurus.
I think you'd lose that 10 times out of 10.
I'd probably freeze to death before I got 10 feet into the water.
Probably.
As for questions, I don't know if I really have too many more. What would you do if you caught a little baby one? Would you run the risk of it dying to get it to someone to research it? Or would you let it go?
I didn't expect to be questioned on my morals during a Cadborosaurus episode.
I mean, it's only morals if you think of it as morals. Could just be a dumb fish.
So we know what you'd do. But also, it's not a fish. It's most likely mammalian.
Yeah, we don't know that.
We don't know that. However, Going back to the Basilosaurus, that's a mammal.
No, we're not going back to the Basilosaurus. We're going back to what would you do if you caught a baby one?
I would probably take a picture. I don't think I'd keep it. Unless I gilled it. If you like accidentally got a hook in the gills or blowhole, whatever the hell the thing is. If you killed it by accident, then I would bring it in for science. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't.
But you wouldn't risk bringing in a live one if it could have died in your care.
Probably not. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm a man who also wants to go looking for Bigfoot. Not for any sort of fame or anything, just to know for myself.
If you could ask Bigfoot one question, what would it be?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Fair enough. All right, let's go to conclusions.
Let's go to conclusions. All right, James. Today, on the case of the Cadborosaurus, we have folklore and native traditions going back thousands of years. We have over 300 reporting sightings going back to the 1800s. We have an extremely similar description of the creature with a lot of witness drawings, as well as the Nathan Harper carcass, which is very interesting and inconclusive. It couldn't be proven to be any other creature. We also have sightings that continue to this day rather consistently, a migratory pattern that coincides with the sightings, the strange Kelly Nash video from 2009 of two Cadborosaurus swimming alongside each other. We even have a sighting just from a few months ago, about 4 hours away from where we live now in Campbell River, BC, of a Cadborosaurus attacking a bird, which we have heard from several other people going back to the 1930s. Today, where do you come down to on our scale from 1 to 5? 1, I'm an idiot. 2, you're skeptical. 3, you're on the fence. 4, there's something strange here. 5, the Cadborosaurus is real and thriving along the Pacific coasts. What are you thinking today?
Today, Jake, I think I'm coming down to I'd say a loose 3.
All right, a loose 3. We'll take it.
Because I am very skeptical, maybe borderline on the fence. That's why it's a very loose 3.
Kind of like how the scientists are about it.
Yeah, kind of like how the scientists are, I guess. Because it could be so many things, right?
Yeah.
We're discovering stuff in the ocean all the time. Big, small, a mixture of the sort. So who knows, especially with the waters around here, they're very dark.
They are.
So it could be any number of things swimming around because it's hard to tell. That one video we saw was edited with contrast and everything just to even be able to really see anything.
Yes.
So who knows what they actually saw.
Another thing is British Columbia has more than 42 lake monsters and sea monsters. And they all kind of match this description. Ogopogo had a similar description. The Shuswap lake monster, Shuswagi, has a similar description. Lots of these creatures have a similar description. So it would make sense. It's not really far to the reach that another creature of similar description just lives in salt water. Cadborosaurus is a weird one. For me, I say it's a 5. I am a firm believer in Cadborosaurus. I know that's ridiculous to some people. But I think the ocean's big and there's a lot we don't know. And I think the sightings being so consistent from people who are unattached going back hundreds of years is something. People are seeing something.
All these different sea and lake monster ones we've gone over, a semi-consistent thing is like the loops coming out of the water, the humps, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there any actual animal that we know of that does that? What would be I can't, you think a bit more, I can't see there being an actual loop ever coming out of the water for anything like that, other than maybe it got too close to the surface and flipped out and went back down for something like an eel, maybe. But
there is no creature we know of that can do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking there wouldn't be anything ever swimming like that. That doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it's if a snake was the wrong way, it would do that. But
even just purely a balance thing, right?
Yeah, I could see it happening with near the end of the creature. Like if you saw the end of the tail, kind of if there's a couple humps near the end of the tail.
Sure, like a whale will do that.
Yeah, you can kind of see where it will come up. I could see it where it would do that if it's long enough. It could do that, but that's why most people just report the humps rolling.
Yeah, I guess they would never really breach per se. They'd just be loosely surfacing in set spots, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard though when you a serpentine mammal swimming, like who knows?
It's a weird thing to think about. But don't you worry, we've only done 2 of them so far, of these serpentine type creatures. We've got hundreds to go, brother.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Yeah, you can, 'cause we got a lot more to do.
2026, it's sea serpent year.
Goddamn right, brother.
2 episodes a week, every week for 52 weeks.
God, no.
Sea serpents.
I might jump off something. Anyway, thank you for listening, everybody. I got James to a loose 3 today on the Cadborosaurus, and honestly, I don't blame him, because most people are there as well when they look through this creature and see all the evidence and lack of evidence on it. If you like what we're doing here, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, for case photos and updates. The link is in the description of every episode. Also, if you enjoy what we're doing, you can rate and follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast. It really goes a long way for us. Also, share with your friends. Word of mouth is the best advertisement, and it's free. Also, if I missed anything, or if you have a case that you'd like us to look into, you can email us at darkdosandpod@gmail.com. With that, as always, James, any words to the wise?
If you ever capture a baby sea monster when you're fishing or sailing, maybe hold on to it and start your own Jurassic Park. I think it could be good for the economy.
Wise words from a wiser man. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks. Bye.